Hello, ladies and gentlemen of District 31. My name is Dan DiNardo, and I've been preparing a number of YouTube presentations so I can discuss the real issues with you that are never going to be discussed in the way that information is gotten to the public during election periods. It's all a matter of propaganda that's distributed at your doorstep or sent you through the mail. There are no real debates being held between the candidates, so you never do understand what they stand for. And most of the time, what they tell you to your face is not what they do once they're elected and they're sitting down in Juneau. I represent the Alaskan Independence Party in your district, and I am standing for election to the House of Representatives for the state of Alaska. Today's topic I would like to take up with you is kind of an extension of the gas line topic that I talked about last time. And there I just briefly, in summary, I told you that the gas line would probably not cost more than about $3.75 billion to build. It's not $37 billion. The state of Alaska could build it absolutely for free by minting gold and silver coin as provided for under Article 1, Section 10 of the U.S. Constitution. Now, regardless of the U.S. Constitution, every country, every nation has the right to its own sovereign coin of the realm. We have that right to make our own gold and silver coin. Therefore, it would cost next to nothing, and it would absolutely be free. You could put all Alaskans to work immediately. And the gas line is not to go across international borders and not to be shipped to any international buyers, because that resource is to build a new Alaskan republic. We don't need to supply the world with these so-called scarce resources, because they really aren't scarce. It's all manipulated by the financial criminal globalism that basically is running the world at the present time. Something I would like to show you that I've tried on numerous occasions to show the public when I've been invited to debates on Channel 7 is a map of Alaska, and also, in fact, maybe this is a little bit better map. You can see this a little bit better. And what this is a map that is taken from documents that I obtained from the State Department and in a lawsuit. It was regarding a 1909 Maritime Boundary Treaty that was signed between the Soviet-controlled U.S. State Department and their Soviet counterpart. And what it did, there was allegedly a boundary dispute in the ocean, particularly in the Bering Sea, that really never did exist, and there was no boundary dispute. But what it was an attempt to obtain control of 5 Arctic islands. And here approximately is where they're located on the map, actually over here on the Soviet side, what appears to be the Soviet side. But these 5 Arctic islands encompass the largest oil field in the world. It has over 1,000 times more reserves than everything in the Middle East combined. And I hope you can still hear me somewhat. It's being blocking the microphones a little bit. But the names of them are Wrangel Island, Harold Island, Henrietta, Jeanette, and Bennett. They were all discovered by the United States. In a court case that was held in the 50s, they were declared United States territory. So Alaska actually owns those islands. Now, because of the lack of the exercise of sovereignty over those islands, I have claimed the strict ownership of Harold, Henrietta, Jeanette, and Bennett. Now, these islands were again, the ownership of these islands were again affirmed by the United States Navy in 1970 when a nuclear submarine, the Queenfish, patrolled in those waters and went near those islands and reasserted the rights of the Alaska and the United States to the ownership of those islands. Those islands are very critical because they also encompass an area that controls 35% of the world's mineral resources. So what I'm saying is that in this regard, that Alaska is the most powerful and the most well-endowed of all republics on the face of the earth, or it will be in all of history. And like I stated, it appears to be, as some people will say, well, gee, these appear to be over the Soviet Union. Well, that is true, but they weren't discovered by the Soviet Union. And as you probably heard recently, the Soviet Union has planted a flag, I'll lower this briefly, a flag under the North Pole, claiming that its outer continental shelf, the drift is so far out there that they can basically claim control of the Arctic Ocean, and they're definitely claiming control of the Bering Straits. They've done that since about 1991 as an official policy. And of course, that's something that would definitely threaten the continued existence and the security of Alaska. The so-called United States military is doing nothing about the issue. They refuse to discuss it. They refuse to assert our ownership over those islands, although under international law, the Soviet Union cannot take the islands, and they haven't taken the islands, and they have no ownership interest, and the Soviets have actually admitted that. So it's a very interesting policy that the U.S. government has adopted in not asserting active sovereignty over those islands, and also the state of Alaska. Sarah Palin was giving all this information in a much greater detail, and she has done nothing about this. I find that she got elected governor of Alaska, but again, she's just a Republican Party member, and she's a party card-carrying member. And she's not interested, doesn't have the background on this information. But for a governor to be given this information and not to utilize it and to be active in asserting our ownership or interest over this tremendous resource, basically overnight you could cut all imports of foreign petroleum. We're importing approximately 73% of our petroleum needs now. It's over with. You don't need to be in Afghanistan and Iraq and Iran. You don't need to be messing with Venezuela. You don't need to be doing business with the Soviets and bringing in natural gas and oil from the Soviets, and they are shipping it to it. You all of a sudden have total control over your destiny, over your resources, over your industrial complex. You don't need China to be controlling the United States through ownership of hundreds of billions in bonds, U.S. bonds, and the same thing goes for many foreign countries, including the Soviet Union. This country does not have the power to determine its own destiny. It's totally in the control of the international financiers, as I previously explained, under a most diabolical form of business practice. It's called the international law merchant. Law only as a euphemism, but it's just strict business practice based upon the communist principles of the Marxist-Leninist dialectical formula. Now, last time I happened to mention that right now there's a military agreement with between Northcom and the Canadian military to allow the Canadian military to enter Alaska with the United States at times of civil unrest, or when there are projects being built that they feel that it needs their military oversight because it threatens their national security. And I want to show you the letter that I received from the United States Pentagon. They refused to grant me a copy of that agreement, and for a lot of superficial reasons. And this is a letter from the Pentagon. I have it on appeal right now, but this is just to verify. People, Alaskans, have contacted me, and they said they were in a state of shock regarding that issue. It was very important in this discussion here, and I will be ending it very shortly, to let you know that Alaska owns 5 Arctic islands that encompass the world's richest petroleum and mineral resources, and that is very important because Alaska, according to the Book of Revelation in Holy Writ, and you refer to it as the Bible, has declared that in the very near future, Alaska is going to form the third and final republic during the history of time to be called the Alaskan Republic. It's the great land of the Great Eagle. Thank you very much, and I invite you to keep tuning in to Google at the YouTube and look under Daniel DiNardo, and